Hi, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess from BehatiLife Apothecary. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very excited about this video because it's a story time, but not only that, but I'm pairing up with one of my beautiful friends, Harmony Nice, who is one of my favorite people on YouTube and has been for a while. So I'm very excited to join with her and for us to share our stories with you guys so you can be entertained, maybe relate, and maybe share your own stories down below in the comments, because you know I love to hear what it is that you guys have experienced and what it is that you're thinking and feeling. If you haven't checked out Harmony Nice's videos or her YouTube channel, you definitely should. She is, not only is she stunning and beautiful, but she's this awesome witch that is based in the UK. You know, our community here is very small, and we all kind of work in different ways, but we all come together in some way, shape, or form. So she was one of those people that I came across on YouTube, and I was so excited because I could relate to her so much. I love looking at her, if that sounds really weird, but you know when you see someone and you're just like, wow, you're so beautiful, and I love how she does her makeup, I love her style, I love her energy, so it really worked. But so this story is one of my experiences that happened years ago, and the timing of this is actually really perfect because I just recently met up with the person that this story is connected to, and I'm not going to share any names or details that would kind of reveal them simply because it's not necessary, but it's just really interesting, the timing. But this is one of those stories that I genuinely love to share because it still blows my mind to this day how intuition works and how our gifts work and how everything was kind of placed. And this is a perfect example for not only intuition but intuitive gifts, and how your angels and your guides work with others in order to deliver messages and work through you in a lot of ways. So basically what happened was I was hanging out with this one person, not a whole lot, but often enough, and I really cared about them. And they were having issues in their own life, and we sat down at dinner one day. We agreed to like sit down at dinner and just, you know, catch up and talk. And while we were sitting there, I was so distracted by how I felt. I was listening to them talk, and I felt this constriction around my chest and this tightening around my chest, even though I knew that it wasn't me, but it made me so uncomfortable. And where we were at, it was this really intimate, quiet restaurant. It was very small, and I knew that I was healthy. I knew that I was okay. But that's the thing. It's like sometimes like empaths or intuitives will pick up on certain vibes of people around us, and we have to kind of decipher, okay, is this you or is this me? So while they were talking, I was having a really difficult, tough time concentrating on what it was that they were saying, because I was in my head asking these questions. Okay, what is it that is going on? What is it that I'm feeling? What is it that, you know, who is this? Is this someone in the energy? Like, is this someone in the restaurant? Is it me or is it them? So I had to stop him, and I was like, okay, look, I don't know how you're going to take this. I don't know if this is going to freak you out or whatever, but I don't know if you know this about me, because we were still getting to know each other at this point, but I feel things. I feel people's vibes. I feel when something is up. And as you're talking, I can feel my chest being restricted. I can feel my chest being confined, and I know that it's not me. I know that it's coming directly from you. You know, what is this? Like, what's been going on? Now, long story short, he tells me that, you know, he was having issues with his heart, or whatever the case was. Like, there was like small issues or whatever, and he was saying, okay, it's stress. And I was like, okay, fine. So as soon as I said it, I got it off of my chest, and the feeling for the most part went away. And for those of you guys who have worked with me with tarot readings, or let me move my incense for a little bit because it's starting to get smoky. But for those of you guys who have worked with me with intuitive readings or astrology readings, you know that I will get feelings that you have felt, or I will get messages, and they come in really strong. Once they come in, even if I end up breaking down and crying, it's not me who's crying, it's the energy that I'm picking up, and I just release it. Now, it's perfect because for you on your end, you'll feel a release because I picked up some of that and I helped you to release that energy. It happens all the time. But once that feeling is gone, and once I talk about it, once I say it, it literally disappears, and I'm back to my normal self. So that's what happened this night. That's what happened this day. So fast forward, a few weeks pass, you know, we chit chat here and there, and then I wake up. It must have been like a week and a half or some change. It wasn't like as long as 2 weeks, but it wasn't as short as like 1 week. So it must have been like a week and a bit of a weekend. And I'm sitting there and this person popped up in my head, and I started to feel, again, this restriction in my chest, this tightening in my chest. And I hadn't heard from them in a while, so I was just like, okay, angels, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you're trying to tell me. I don't know, if there's a message I need to deliver, but I'm just going to let this be, and I'm going to send out love and light and, positive vibrations to this person for whatever it is that they're going through. At the time, I was doing a lot of spiritual, time for myself. I was in this crazy, hermetic stage of really disconnecting from the outside world and focusing on my spiritual self and giving more to myself that I needed in order to develop and heighten my gifts. And it makes sense considering the work that it is that I'm doing. Everything was perfect and just kind of setting me up to be where I'm at today and to do what it is that I'm doing now in the way that I do it. So I'm feeling how I'm feeling, and then I decide, okay, I'm going to go into my own sacred space. I'm going to go into my meditation, and any messages that I need to receive for myself or for others, I'm ready to hear it. And the first thing that I see, and this is where it gets really crazy, the first thing that I see is this plant. And I'm going to leave out the details because I want to walk you guys through exact moment by moment in order to get to the final end of the story. So I see this plant, and it's pink and it's purple, and I've seen it before, but what I've seen it in fairy tales. So I see this plant and I recognized it, but at that point in time, I wasn't an herbalist, an actual herbalist. I could recognize it, but I didn't know the name of it, and I didn't know what its properties were, if it was a good plant or if it was poisonous or whatever. So I see it and I am asking, I'm like, okay, what is this? What is this plant? Why are you showing me this? What is this? And the words fairy plant, fairy plant, fairy plant, fairy plant. And I was like, okay, so it's a fairy plant, which makes sense because I had seen it before in books in passing, in fairy tales where you see it with fairies around it, or Cinderella stories, like I said before. And I see this, I hear the word fairy plant, it's the fairy plant, it's the fairy plant. And I see the face of the person that I just had dinner with the week before, and I can see that their heart, that there is a condition with their heart, and all of it starts to put together. And the thing with it is, with intuitive messages, is that sometimes when you get a message, it doesn't quite make sense, but your angels or your guides or your intuition will connect the dots for you, even though logically it doesn't make sense in that moment. So the best thing to do is just to stay open and try to remember as much as you can. And then if you're lucky, talk with someone about it later on, and more information starts to come through, or write it down. Definitely try and capture it down. The more that you get it out, the more that comes to you, because even in that moment, you don't realize how much information it is that you're getting until you start talking about it later, or you start writing it down. So I'm just doing my best to remember. So I'm remembering, okay, this is the fairy plant. This is the fairy plant. And it's connected to the heart, and it's connected to this person that you were just with, who had the same feelings that you have with the chest constriction, the chest being tightened, and the heart. And I looked at the fairy plant, and because that's what I saw it as, that those are the words that I heard, and I knew to draw a connection between that person's heart and this plant, this flower. And so later on, after the meditation, I received messages for myself, I received some messages for my family, and I also received that message from that person. But I'm debating, okay, do I say something to them? Do I leave this for myself? What do I do with this information? So I go to my laptop and I start doing some research. And the first thing that I look up is the fairy plant. What is the fairy plant? And it says foxglove. And I had never heard that name before in my life. I had seen the plant, like I said before, but I only seen it illustrated in fairy tale books. So I never, but it makes sense that it was connected to fairy tales and the fairy plant, because I would always see it with fairies, or I would always see it in a fairy tale. But other than that, I would see, if you type up the fairy plant, you'll see foxglove. It's one of the most popular plants when it comes to illustrations with fairies, with fairy tales, because it's said to draw in the energy of fairy spirits and the fae. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm sitting there scratching my head like I don't know what any of this means, right? So I want to say either a day later or 2 days later, this person texts me and they're like, Jess, you know, I have to tell you this. When we were at dinner the other day, you said this about my heart, and you said that you were feeling this on my heart. And then a week later, so right when I had that vision, the same day, so it was 2 days, it was a day before, that person said, I just came out of the hospital. I had a heart arrhythmia, so my heart was having irregular beats, and I talked to the doctor and they said, you know, that they had to jump their heart in order to get it back to a regular rhythm, a regular heartbeat. And I was like, stop, because it really like blew my mind, because I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, because I legit just had a vision. Like yesterday, you popped up in my head. I felt the chest restriction again. Like I felt the tightening of the chest, and I knew that it was my heart condition. And I got these messages talking about your heart. And then also there was this plant that came to me, and I don't know if this makes sense to you, and I feel crazy saying this, but there was this plant that came to me, and it was the fairy. Sorry guys, a phone call came in, and it's crazy because before I got started on this video, I told myself, put your phone on do not disturb, because you're gonna get a phone call and it's gonna interrupt this. But anyways, always listen to your intuition is the moral of this story. So anyway, so I'm telling this person, I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna make sense to you, but this is what I got. This is how I felt. My heart felt restricted the same way that it did when you and I were sitting down at the dinner table that one time. And also this plant came through, which is foxglove. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, like it was foxglove. I don't know what that means. It's kind of, I hit a dead end when it comes to, trying to figure out what that means for you. I've been doing my research, but I can't find anything. I just know that it's like super poisonous, but that doesn't make any sense. And he's like, stop talking. And I'm like, what is it? And he says, he was like, so the medicine that they gave me is called digitalis. And this is where it gets crazy. So the medicine that they gave him is called digitalis. And digitalis is derived from the foxglove plant. Boom, right? And guys, please, believe me, I have no understanding of medical anything. I am the worst. If anything, medical stuff freaks me out. I don't know. Outside of the fact that I don't know, I have no interest. So I would not know medicines. I don't even take medicines. If I have a headache, I will wait to the last minute to even take Advil or Tylenol, even though it's like, Jess, do this I don't know medicine. I don't know medical. I don't know anything. So for this, and I don't know plants. Well, I know plants now because obviously I am an herbalist and I have the apothecary and I work with plants all the time in order to create my oils and my intention oils, etc., etc. But at the time I did not, and I definitely don't work with foxglove. It's super poisonous, and now I know this, but because of this vision that I had. But I literally, you guys, I swear, I shit you not, I have never in my life heard of foxglove. I don't know anything about medicine. And this person is actually a doctor, and he says, he was like, digitalis is the medicine that they use in order to, that's derived from this plant, that it used in small amounts will help to reset the heart and get it back. But in too much amount, like in too large of amount, it will stop you. You stop your heart and kill you. It's highly toxic. But that's the thing about medicine, is that sometimes when it comes from a plant or certain things in small doses, it's just enough to create healing, but in larger amounts, it could be lethal. And digitalis is the medicine that the doctor gave them, and digitalis is derived from foxglove, which is what the doctor gave him in order to reset his heart. And the heart and the confinement and the restriction of what it was that I felt was exactly what it was that he was going with, which not only predicted it to happen, but it was the connection of, okay, this is the medicine that you're going to use. And I can tell you now that his heart is in a better condition than it was before we had that conversation. So that's my story. I have many stories, but that's one of my favorite ones to tell, simply because, again, if you know me, you know I don't do medical, I don't do math, and still to this day, it really blows my mind how specific my intuition was, and how specific the messages were. Again, I get messages all the time, especially when I'm working with my clients and doing readings for my clients, but it's stuff like this that kind of cements it for me and reminds me, this stuff is real. If anybody ever guesses, or if you ever second guess your own gifts. And I've been working with my own gifts for over 16 years, and still to this day I still second guess myself, like maybe I was lucky. No, it's not luck. There's actually something going on there, and the more that you take time to develop those gifts, the stronger that they become. Okay, so that's my story. I am going to go check out Harmony Nice's and see what her story is. In reality, I already know the story, but I haven't heard her tell it, so I can't wait to watch. But the links for her story will be down below. If you aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure that you're subscribed, because I share intuitive messages with you guys every single week, multiple times a week. Sometimes it just hits me out of the blue, but you already know, if you're a longtime friend to BehatiLife YouTube, I post astro and intuitive forecasts every single week minimum, and then we do live chats on Monday on my Instagram, which is BehatiLife. Links are down below. And then also I post all types of additional information and lifestyle videos too that you can expect, especially as we're moving into 2018. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to this story with me. I love you with all of my heart, and I welcome all the brand new subscribers that are new to the channel and to the BehatiLife tribe. We'll talk soon. Bye.